I know what you're thinking, right? The Indominus Rex was a mindless killing machine because of its gene makeup. It was created that way, it kills for sport. Well, that isn't entirely true, because the Indominus Rex doesn't mindlessly kill everything it comes in contact with, because we don't see it kill the Carnotaurus toro, and it doesn't kill the raptor pack when it first meets them. And the actual real reasons why it's an alleged monster may completely shock you and completely change your view on this animal by the end of the video, so buckle up and hold on to your butts. Now, two I-Rexes were meant to be kept in their own paddocks that had walls of at least 12 meters high. This was also planned in case one of them died. However, the older Indominus Rex actually cannibalized their own sibling and would also attack the workers of her paddock as well. Now, this is something I want to touch on later because it's going to be really important. Now, what is extremely interesting is Dr. Henry Wu actually says this.
How did you get two different kinds of dinosaurs to, you know...
Oh, Indominus wasn't bred. She was designed. She will be 50 feet long when fully grown. Bigger than the T-Rex.
Key takeaway from that, the fact that he says will be 50 feet long when she's fully grown. But at the time of Simon Masrani's visit, she was only 40 feet, indicating she hadn't fully developed into an adult yet. Now we see the Indominus Rex exhibit a tendency to kill dinosaurs without consuming them, suggesting that it may be engaging in predatory activities for reasons other than sustenance and potentially for sport. Now this scene right here led us to believe that the Indominus Rex was simply a mindless killing machine. There'd be no other reason she'd be killing these dinosaurs, right? They say that she's killing it for sport, she's just a killing machine. Well, no, it's not entirely true. We know the Indominus was super intelligent, which is presumably gained from the velociraptor DNA in its creation. Good examples of its intelligence are its plan in making the people believe that she'd escaped her paddock and her ability to remember where and when her creators inserted her tracking implant. But there are other indicators which suggest high levels of intelligence and it not just simply being a mindless killing machine. Now, during this escape, the Indominus Rex actually encounters a lone Carnotaurus named Toro. Now, if it was a mindless killing machine, it simply would have tore through the fence and attacked Toro there and then and killed it and moved on, much like the other dinosaurs. But it doesn't do this. It actually tears down the fence and lets Toro escape. Now, the exact motivation for this behavior is unknown, but one thing is definitely for certain is that it's not killing it for sport, which makes its motives even more confusing. Now, there is a reason why it could be letting Toro out, and it plays into this theory massively, and it's to do with its upbringing and its other sibling, the black Indominus Rex. Now, I did a whole video on breaking down why the Indominus Rex didn't kill the Carnotaurus, and I recommend checking that out after you've finished watching this for a more thorough explanation. But like I just said, the main reason is because of its upbringing, and that might be a little bit confusing, but don't worry, I'll explain all that in just a minute. Now, the same things happen when it encounters the first velociraptor pack. It doesn't attack them straight out, right? Because if it was killing for sport, it wouldn't bother communicating, it would simply just attack and kill. And again, it doesn't do that, displaying a different behavior, a communication between the two species. But at this stage, the real reason why the Indominus Rex is such a monster is still unknown. Now, the Indominus Rex was known to display a solitary hunting behavior, although the precise timing of its siblings' cannibalization in relation to its movement into the larger enclosure, which I said at the beginning of the video, or its behavior upon entering this enclosure with the sibling, also remains uncertain. Very little is known about the two Indominus Rexes when they entered the paddock together, because many people believe she cannibalized it straight after birth in the incubation chamber, and that's simply not true. We know they moved the two Indominus Rexes into an enclosure together, because there's no way the scientists watching these two Indominus Rexes hatch would let the one Indominus Rex eat the other. It simply wouldn't happen. The attack and cannibalization would have taken place inside the paddock they'd built for both of them. Now, many people believe she simply ate and killed her own sibling because of the Majungasaurus DNA, because they were suggested to be cannibals and scavengers, much like the T-Rex, but I won't get into that debate. Now, if that was the case, she would simply just scavenge off her corpse if it died of natural causes. She wouldn't outright kill her sibling, because the Majungasauruses were scavengers. They didn't outright kill other members of their species or even family, so that rules that out. So there's another reason why she potentially did attack and kill the other I-Rex. And all this is building into the true reason why she's a monster. Because let's look at this logically. From the moment she and her sibling was born, she would have been tested upon, moved, poked, prodded, put into this enclosure, tested, fed with a crane, and an animal which is going to be known to grow at least 50 feet in a tiny enclosure, and two of them, problems will arise. Which tells me, when she was younger and smaller, that wouldn't have been a problem. So the both I-Rexes would have had to have grown to at least a decent size, and then conflict would have occurred. But building up to that point, the animal's mental state would have been completely unstable. I mean, it must have been to get to the point to attack its own sibling. And let's not forget, the very first hybrid before the Indominus Rex, the Scorpius Rex, was even known to be mentally unstable. They hadn't perfected the hybrid process. And the same thing basically happened with our Indominus Rex. Being kept in that tiny enclosure made her mentally unstable, attacks her sibling, kills it, and all while her mental state is going bonkers. She escapes the paddock, and it is complete sensory overload. New smells, hunting, animals, humans attacking her. She's just attacking anything on sight at this stage. And thus it makes her seem like an absolute killing machine and an absolute monster. But when she encounters the Carnotaurus toro, she may see another caged animal, something which is similar to herself, a solitary animal left in captivity and just wants to free it. Or she simply wants to let it out and cause absolute carnage because she's highly intelligent and knows that will keep her hunters or captives off her back. And all this is really building into the truth on why she's an actual monster. And it's not because she's simply made up of Giganotosaurus DNA, T-Rex DNA, Velociraptor DNA. It's all because of this mental state. Now, you could argue that also in her DNA makeup is the possibility of human hybrid DNA. Now, that could cause another issue in itself, especially with the mental state and intelligence side, but I'm not going to get into that debate because I did a full video which you can check out here, and I highly recommend doing so after this video. But for the sake of this video, let's say there's no human hybrid DNA inside of the Indominus Rex. And the really interesting thing, which is extremely scary, is the real reason why she's such a monster. Because if she was simply a mindless killing machine with no motives, that makes her easier to understand, predict, knowing there's no real motive behind what she's doing. She's just simply mindlessly killing. But that isn't the case with the Indominus Rex. She strategically marks out targets while killing off the others, giving off that psychopath type of vibes rather than just mindless killing, making her extremely unpredictable and terrifying at the same time. Coupled with all these abilities she has, thermal detection, invisibility, basically kind of give her a super villain arc. Now, I do understand we're kind of talking like the Indominus Rex is a human being, but the intelligence level it displayed in the film is definitely on par with humans. I mean, it actually fools human beings into believing it's escaped. No other animal could possibly do that. So the level of mental capability this animal has would definitely suggest it's capable of strategic thinking, empathy, emotional connections, also while at the same time the mind being extremely fragile because of its upbringing, which makes what actually happened to the animal quite tragic in my eyes. It never asked to be created, it never asked to be poked or prodded and put into this pen, fed with a crane, contained in a tiny box. I mean, imagine that happened to you. And the real reason the Indominus Rex is such a monster is because literally of us, them scientists. Sure, they made the genome, but that didn't make it a monster. We created that by the experimentation, terrible living conditions, and cruelty. And when it encountered the raptor pack, it simply wanted to be part of a family again, a single unit. And who knows, after that they could have gone off to find somewhere to live on that island, or they could have continued their killing streak. But the true reason the Indominus Rex was such a monster was definitely because of us, the Jurassic World scientists. But what do you think? I'd love to know your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. And check out all my other videos on the channel, and don't forget to subscribe for plenty more content like this coming up in the next week or so. You're not going to want to miss any of these videos. Massive thanks to my YouTube members as always. The names are on screen now. Thank you very much, guys. And can I solve Jurassic Park related mysteries? You bet your ass I can. Catch you later.